What do you do if you find your husband with another woman? Most cry, some walk away, but this wife, she chose art, she chose blood, she chose a plan so elaborate, it turned a husband's betrayal into a nation's obsession. Nick Dunn wakes up one morning. His wife rests her head on his chest, her breathing soft, her beauty quiet, but his mind is dark. He imagines cracking her skull, not from rage, but from a desperate hunger to peer inside, to finally know what thoughts swirl in the mystery that is his wife. Strange thing, isn't it? When a man must picture violence just to touch the truth of the one he loves. Later, Nick slips into the bar he co-owns with his twin, Margot. She pours him a drink. He looks weary. It's their 5th anniversary, a day meant for celebration. Yet to him, a weight. Because Amy, he knows, will stage her little game again, her infamous treasure hunts. Not out of love, he believes, but as puzzles designed to expose him, to prove he is inattentive and unworthy. Last year's riddle still mocks him, still unsolved, hanging over his head like a curse. 5 years married, and still, no gift seems good enough for Amy. The phone rings, a call from his neighbor. Their door has been left open, too long. Nick rushes home. The house is still, too still. Shattered glass glints on the floor. The whisper of a struggle lingers in the silence. Amy is nowhere to be found. He calls the police. Detective Rhonda Boney and Officer James arrive. Nick explains they've lived here for 2 years, moved from New York when his mother fell ill. Rhonda notices something else. Blood. A smear in the kitchen. And in Amy's office. A revelation. This is that Amy. Amazing Amy, the golden girl immortalized in books. Beloved, idolized. Now, vanished. But how did it come to this? A marriage cracked wide open on the morning of its anniversary. To understand, we must turn the page. Flip back in time, into Amy's diary, where the story, her story begins. At a New York party, the kind where confidence drips from every corner. Amy meets Nick Dunn, handsome, charming, a writer for Men's Magazine, sharp, quick with words. She too, a magazine writer, equally witty, equally bold. Their banter crackles, flirtation laced with clever jabs. 2 predators circling each other, grinning. Nick takes her to a sugar storm, a shower of sweetness in the air. He makes his move. Perfect, cinematic. Love at first bite of sugar. 2 years later, marriage bells. But here's the irony. It's not Amy walking down the aisle, it's amazing Amy. The character her parents created. The golden girl who succeeded where the real Amy stumbled. They stole her childhood, packaged it, sold it. Every failure turned into fiction, rewritten as triumph, profit at her expense. Rand and Mary Beth, ever the marketers. They want her to play her part, speak to reporters for a headline. Amy drowns under questions about amazing Amy's wedding, until Nick steps in and rescues her, then fittingly proposes, turning the night from unbearable to amazing. At first, their marriage glows. Nick adores her treasure hunts. They wander libraries hand in hand, their love stitched together by books and clues, moments small but golden. The honeymoon years, bright, promising, hopeful. Then the world shifts. As the recession bites, both lost their jobs. And as if fate weren't cruel enough, Amy's parents drain her trust fund to pay off their crippling publishing debts. As the couple's finances crumble, Nick spirals. Unemployed, restless. He wastes time on games, burns through what little they have. The prenup, once an afterthought, suddenly feels like a shackle around his neck. As resentment grows, their arguments sharpen. And then the call. Nick's mother is sick, so they move to Missouri. For Nick, it's homecoming. For Amy, it's exile. She is adrift in a small town where she belongs nowhere. Soon after, Nick's mother dies. Amy spends the last of her trust fund buying him a bar, a gesture of love, or maybe desperation. But the marriage, hollowing. Routines replace intimacy. They play act affection. Amy, clinging, suggests a baby. Nick cuts her down, says a child won't save this marriage, suggesting the marriage is beyond saving. He tries to leave for a meeting. Amy blocks his way. Nick shoves her to the floor. The fall isn't what terrifies her, it's his eyes. Cold, unfamiliar. For the first time, she sees not her husband, but a stranger. And worse, she realizes she's afraid. Afraid of him, afraid he wants her gone, but can't risk divorce, because she controls the line of credit for the bar, his only source of income. Back in the present, Amy is not yet missing, technically, but the shattered glass and smeared blood suggest otherwise. Nick gives his statement, a routine procedure, but what shocks is not his words, it's his ignorance. He doesn't know his wife's friends, her job. He doesn't even know her blood type, making the police to wonder if he really spent 5 years with this woman. Meanwhile, his father, lost in memory, was found wandering and brought to the station. Nick returns him to the care home, then goes to Margot's, his own house now a potential crime scene. The police comb through their marriage. Utilities, the house, the bar, all in Amy's name. Not a clue, but a humiliation. A reminder of who is the man in their marriage. Then, their first real clue, and fittingly, it's literal, Amy's annual anniversary treasure hunt. A game of love, now a game of survival. Margot coaches Nick on how to look like the grieving husband in front of the cameras. Rand and Mary Beth arrive, grief-stricken. Rand tells the police of men, those drawn, unwanted, to his dazzling daughter. Nick, coached and primed, still stumbles before the lenses. It is astonishing how guilt clings not only to the guilty, but also to those too careless to appear innocent. Their concern for Amy eclipsing Nick entirely. Detective Rhonda presses Nick to solve the clue. Maybe it leads to her. He cracks it quickly. It leads them to his office. Inside, they find a second clue, pointing to his father's house. He feigns ignorance, rushes there quickly. Inside, he finds the third, and hides it away, just as Rhonda walks in. Wrong alarm code alerted them. She raises an eyebrow. The little brown house in Amy's riddle may be here. But Nick insists otherwise. Each lie, each evasion, tightens the noose around his neck. Later, at the dedicated search center, Nick smiles. He hugs volunteers. He poses for photos. Mary Beth confronts him. He says he's just showing appreciation to the volunteers. But in the theater of grief, even kindness looks like betrayal. Later, Andy arrives, young, wide-eyed, his student, his mistress of 1.5 years. A kiss in the dark, a dangerous secret in a world ablaze with suspicion. He warns her, be discreet. But secrets have gravity, and this one is heavy enough to crush him. Margot discovers the truth, and fury consumes her. He lied to her. Nick is collapsing, while the world has already written his guilt. The worst thing for an accused man is not to be guilty, but to act exactly like one. At the community vigil, Nick stands before the crowd, trying to look like the grieving husband. But the people's eyes burn with suspicion. He appeals for help, swearing innocence, even boasting not hiring a lawyer because he has nothing to hide, which is exactly what guilty people always say. He proclaims his love for his wife. Andy is visibly wounded in the shadows, as if realizing she's disposable in this chess game. Then, a woman in the crowd shatters his performance, asking what he did to his pregnant wife. In one blow, every ounce of goodwill collapses. The crowd turns, cameras flash, and Nick flees under a storm of accusations. Pregnant? Nick swears he didn't know. The woman is lying. She was not even Amy's friend. But the photos say otherwise. The police grow colder. Nothing about the crime scene makes sense. The blood, the struggle, the broken glass, too neat. Look staged. It reeks of a cover-up. They suspect this was crafted to steer them towards strangers, away from the husband. And when they probe deeper, finances, insurance, Nick falters. Amy insisted on raising her life insurance. He denies, deflects, lashes out. But when it's confirmed Amy was pregnant, his composure crumbles. He refused to talk any further without a lawyer. Innocent men look confused. Guilty men look cornered. Nick looks both. Margot overhears her brother telling Amy's parents that Amy never wanted kids. A contradiction that rips open old wounds. He shows her a letter from a fertility clinic threatening to destroy his semen samples unless Amy appears. More secrets, more lies. And hidden away in a box, their prenup, angry letters, notes from Amy's exes. A collection of grievances, a shrine to resentment. Why keep all this? For leverage? For evidence? Or a motive? Margot asks for the truth, but Nick explodes in fury. He doesn't answer, which is its own kind of answer. Officer James thinks it's time to arrest him, but Detective Rhonda is cautious. Without Amy's body, it's just smoke and mirrors. They need a corpse to make it stick. Meanwhile, Nick finally cracks the third clue. But Rhonda too finds another. She finds Amy's diary, painting a chilling portrait of a fearful wife trapped with a violent husband. Add that to the stash of expensive items Nick bought in secret, and the net tightens. And then, the twist. The curtain pulls back. Amy is alive. Not a victim, but a mastermind. Every detail, every trace of blood, every staged struggle, all her. She crafted a perfect vanishing act to frame Nick, punishing him for cheating and, in her mind, plotting to discard her. While Nick played the fool, Amy was weaving a masterpiece of vengeance. She befriended a gullible neighbor, filling her with stories of abuse. She built fake debt, faked gambling accounts, manipulated the insurance. She bought herself a getaway car. She rehearsed her farewell to the world, not as Amy, but as Amazing Amy, the martyr. And the final stroke of genius? Nothing earns sympathy like a pregnant woman. So she faked that too. Nick thought he was trapped in a failing marriage. Turns out, he's trapped in Amy's story. On the morning of their anniversary, Nick goes about his day with no idea what Amy is setting in motion. Amy meticulously stages the crime scene. She draws her own blood, sprinkles it across the kitchen, then wipes and smears it to look like a violent struggle followed by a hasty cleanup. She leaves what appears to be a murder weapon in plain sight. And for good measure, she composes a fake diary, a story that begins with their once blissful romance and spirals into a tale of marital misery and fear. She half burns it, leaving it convincingly damaged but legible enough for police to find. Finally, she links it all to their tradition of an anniversary treasure hunt, ensuring the trail points directly to Nick. After her masterpiece of deception is complete, Amy cuts and dyes her hair, then vanishes onto the road under a new guise. To perfect her victimhood, she bruises and injures herself, determined to make every lie believable. She tells herself she will even commit suicide, if necessary, to complete her revenge. From a distance, she keeps track of the investigation, reveling in the chaos she has unleashed. Back in Missouri, Nick shows Margot the stash hidden in the woodshed, expensive items bought under his name, all neatly planted to incriminate him. Margot is shocked and enraged. Among the planted evidence lies a mocking note with a gift attached, taunting him that prison awaits. For the first time, Nick fully understands Amy's plan. She has framed him for her murder. He confesses to Margot that he had planned to ask Amy for a divorce that very morning, but Amy had suggested he leaves the house and reflect on their marriage. While he spent the morning at the bar, Amy was already gone. Desperate, Nick turns to Tanner Bolt, a slick defense attorney. Tanner greets him almost amused, saying he knew Nick would show up sooner or later. He marvels at Amy's brilliance, impressed at the intricacy of her design. But he also knows the only way to survive is to reshape the narrative. Let the world know who she really is. Their first step is digging into Amy's past. They track down Tommy O'Hara, a man Amy accused of sexual assault 8 years earlier. Tommy reveals the truth. They had been in a consensual relationship, but after he pulled away, Amy manipulated the situation, goading him into rough sex and then pressing charges the next day. Though he pled guilty to avoid prison, the allegation destroyed his life. For Nick, the encounter is chilling confirmation. Amy is dangerously vindictive. She ruins lives as casually as others hold grudges. Meanwhile, In the public eye, Nick is now public enemy number one, while Amy, presumed dead, is worshipped as a tragic heroine. To tighten her trap, Amy anonymously calls the police, reporting suspicious activity at Margot's house, ensuring her sister-in-law is drawn into suspicion. Meanwhile, Nick seeks out Desi Collins, Amy's wealthy and obsessive ex-boyfriend. Desperate, he tries to provoke Desi, reminding him of how Amy spoke of him with disdain, hoping to rattle him into revealing something useful. But Desi is unmoved. He reveals nothing. Back in Missouri, Detective Rhonda begins to notice cracks in Amy's story. The diary feels too neat, too perfectly staged, just like the anniversary clues. Tanner Bolt arrives to strategize with Nick and Margot, pushing them to consider reshaping the narrative. After hearing their version, Tanner advises that Nick must reveal his affair with Andy to the police before it comes out another way. But then, shifting tactics, Tanner insists Nick should go further, appear on national television, confess to everything, and reclaim public sympathy before Amy's myth swallows him whole. Meanwhile, Amy's meticulous plan begins to unravel. Living in a run-down hideout, she befriends a couple of drifters. But they quickly size her up, robbing her of her hidden stash of cash and leaving her stranded in her car, rattled and furious. Out of options, she calls Desi for help, weaving a fresh version of her story that Nick abused her, that she was terrified for her life. Desi, still obsessed with her, leaps at the chance to play her savior. As Nick prepares for his high-stakes TV interview, disaster strikes. Andy beats him to it, stepping in front of cameras and publicly exposing their affair. The scandal spreads like wildfire. Still, Nick refuses to back down. He goes on air, laying himself bare. He admits to his failures, his infidelity, and his selfishness. Yet, he speaks tenderly of Amy, confessing how meeting her lifted him to a new height and how deeply he regrets failing her. He declares his belief that Amy is still alive and promises that if she returns, he will love her as she deserves. His raw honesty shocks the nation, reshaping him from villain to repentant husband. Amy, watching from Desi's secluded mansion in the woods, absorbs every word. Meanwhile, the police follow up on her anonymous tip, raiding Margot's woodshed. Inside, they discover the stash of incriminating purchases. Margot is arrested. Nick, too, is brought in for questioning. Faced with Amy's diary, he admits the handwriting is hers but flatly denies the violent tendencies it describes. His protests fall flat when investigators produce the supposed murder weapon, caked with Amy's blood. With that, Nick is arrested, the weight of Amy's deception crushing him completely. Amy, nestled in Desi's gilded cage, smiles as if fate has handed her sanctuary. They reminisce about their past, but her eyes glitter with a colder intent. Nick's kiss lingers in her mind, not with longing but calculation. Like she ruined Tommy before, she now scripts Desi's undoing. She seduces him, pulling him into what he believes is passion rekindled. Then with a merciless slice, she slits his throat. He dies in silence, another pawn in her symphony of vengeance. Bathed in crimson, Amy staggers before the world, the perfect victim reborn. Cameras devour the spectacle. At the hospital, doctors confirm her tale of sexual assault. To them, she is no longer missing, no longer a suspect. She is salvation wrapped in blood. She tells police Desi kidnapped her, spinning her captivity into martyrdom. Detective Rhonda sees through the cracks, but her suspicion drowns beneath the FBI's admiration. Amy feigns dizziness under pressure, leaning into fragility. When asked if she feels safe to go home with Nick, she beams a triumphant smile. Behind closed doors, Nick strips away her performance. He demands the truth. Amy answers not with words, but with a condition: take off your clothes. She must be sure he wears no wire. Only then does she whisper half-truths, veiled confessions twisted into self-defense. She calls herself a fighter, a warrior who clawed her way back to him. Desi was just collateral damage. Nick declares he is leaving, but Amy's trap tightens. If he abandons her now, after his public declarations of love, the public will devour him. The next day, She basks in the nation's adoration. To the world, she is a phoenix. To Nick, his prison. He confides in Tanner and Detective Rhonda that Amy confessed. They shake their heads. She is untouchable now. Weeks later, the cameras are still there, and Nick still sleeps in a different room, despite her promises not to hurt him. She schedules their next televised performance, scripting his words like lines in a play. Before they face the cameras, Amy presents him with a gift. She is pregnant. Nick recoils. It cannot be his. They haven't touched. She doesn't care. His fury erupts, demanding freedom. But Amy responds with her chilling vow. She killed for him, and she will never let him go. Margot weeps when Nick tells her he must stay. Bound by a child he never wanted, Nick resigns to the cruelest truth. They are going to be parents. The world celebrates their union, a twisted fairy tale. But beneath the smiles lies a cage. In the end, love wasn't blind. It was brutal, it was a war, and Amy won. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.